Jurassic World Evolution 3 has swimming dinosaurs, but only 5 of them. While I'm super excited for this feature, I also think it could be better. And that's what this video is about. How would I improve the functionality of the deep water? Well, that goes beyond just adding more dinosaurs that can swim. We're gonna go way more in depth. When Frontier revealed last week that only 5 species could swim, there was a wave of disappointment. I promise that was the last water pun. It's super exciting to see the Spinosaurus and its baby swim around, and the sauropods look so majestic wading through the deep water. But I agree, there is something missing. That being a swimming T-Rex and at least one new species to make the deep waters unsafe. But I'm confident this is just a jumping off point. Frontier has proven with Jurassic World Evolution 1 and especially Jurassic World Evolution 2 that they bring massive improvements to their game through free updates, and the semi-aquatics DLC seems meant to be. That got me thinking how I would expand on this feature. Unlike Frontier, I have no game development experience, so I am blissfully unaware of any technical limitations, and I can dream up whatever I want. I also don't need to manage the real-life constraints of deadlines and resources, a luxury Frontier doesn't have. So this video is just my ideal vision for the feature. It's not a demand or an expectation. With that said, let's dive in. In case you missed last week's coverage of all the news surrounding deep water, Frontier officially announced that 3 of the 5 swimming species are Spinosaurus, Baryonyx, and Dimetrodon. They showed a glimpse of the Pyroraptor swimming in the background, so that makes 4, and the 5th swimming species is described as a returning species they have not shown yet. While officially it remains a mystery, I'm assuming that it is the as of yet unconfirmed Suchomimus. And if you did miss out on that news, consider subscribing to the channel so you don't miss any future reveals. By the way, this is the confirmed species list so far, with more being revealed tomorrow. In this video, I will be mentioning dinosaurs not on this list. Don't make the mistake of thinking they are confirmed, they are not. Alongside the 5 swimming dinosaurs, all adult sauropods can wade. These are the 6 sauropods already confirmed for the base game roster. The wading is brilliant, it's beautiful, I'm leaving that as is. This video is only about the swimming dinosaurs. As a sandbox builder, I really like the creative option of using deep water as a natural habitat barrier for most dinosaurs. I think Frontier prioritized that functionality of the deep water over seeing more species paddle about, and perhaps controversially, I agree. I understand the challenge of then figuring out where do you logically draw the line between dinosaurs that can and can't swim, so I understand how we got to just 5. I'm gonna draw the line differently to include more species, but I acknowledge that this is kind of an arbitrary process. I would argue though that it adds to the fun of how I would design the feature, that as a new player, you wouldn't know which species can or can't swim. It's not as logical as, oh, Spinosaurids and species we saw swim in the movies. Gotcha. It's something you discover as you build your parks through trial and error. I would also divide the swimming species into 4 categories. The first category is the semi-aquatics. These are the Spinosaurus, Baryonyx, Suchomimus, Dimetrodon, Dinocyrus, Deinonychus, yes, the tadpole raptor, and at least one, but preferably a couple of big crocs. For ease, let's say Deinosuchus and Sarcosuchus. These semi-aquatic animals have a deep water habitat requirement. Their environment must include deep water for them to be happy, and they will spend a lot of time in the water, either actively swimming or just floating in place. Some species will do so more than others. The crocs will also always stay close to water, never venturing too far on land. The second category are dinosaurs that will occasionally go for a swim. They won't spend a lot of time in the water, but they'll cross rivers and lakes as they randomly meander throughout their enclosure. They prefer to have deep water in their habitat, but if they don't, you can still get them up to 99% comfort. These dinosaurs would be Pyroraptor, Spinoraptor, Spinoceratops, Parasaurolophus, and Uranosaurus. As you can tell, these are the hybrids that have something in their base genome that makes them more adept to water, and dinosaurs that can swim canonically, with one notably still missing. But the T-Rex goes in the next category, which is the biggest category, and it's the dinosaurs who can swim, they just don't like to swim. Swimming isn't a hobby, it's a means to an end for these dinosaurs. They will only enter the deep water if they are motivated to do so, either because there is food or a nest across a river or lake, or if it means escaping their habitat. This would apply to Tyrannosaurus rex, Coelophysis, Troodon, Guanlong, Syntausaurus, Corythosaurus, Muttaburrasaurus, Edmontosaurus, Maiasaura, Dryosaurus, and Concavenator. The final category is dinosaurs that will only swim if driven by absolute desperation. Only if they are on the brink of starving to death would they brave the deep water and jump in to swim to food on the other side. These would be our small dinosaurs: Homalocephali, Microceratus, Protoceratops, Psittacosaurus, Morus intrepidus, and Compsognathus. As long as their habitat has a food source, you can contain these small dinosaurs with deep water. Only if you let the food run out would you need to worry about them escaping. So it's something you have control over as park manager. The dinosaurs from the other three categories cannot be contained by deep water, and all other dinosaurs not mentioned can be contained by deep water. Well, not entirely. We'll get to that in a bit. I feel like splitting the swimming ability into different categories already makes it a less shallow addition to the game. But I'm not done yet. I would also bring genome manipulation into it. All dinosaurs that can swim from either of the four categories can be cloned with a hydrophobic genome. This is something you'd unlock through research. If you create a dinosaur with the hydrophobic genome, this individual animal hatches with one of two traits, either mild hydrophobia or extreme hydrophobia. Mild hydrophobia puts them in category 4. They will only swim if they are on the brink of starvation, so you can contain them with water as long as you provide them with food. Or they can hatch with extreme hydrophobia, which means they will not swim at all, not even if it means starving to death. So for example, your T-Rexes. If you want to contain them with deep water, you can't do that with a regular T-Rex. A regular T-Rex will just swim through the deep water to escape. However, you just have to research the hydrophobic genome and apply that during the cloning process. Then, when the egg is synthesized and ready for incubation, you can see which trait will be manifested, the mild hydrophobia or the extreme hydrophobia, and you can choose which to incubate. What makes it interesting is that two hydrophobic dinosaurs, through breeding, can have offspring that doesn't have that trait. So your two hydrophobic T-Rexes, which don't swim, can have a baby which does swim, at least once it reaches adulthood. This means you as park manager really need to stay on top of the breeding that goes on in your park. If a baby T-Rex hatches with the ability to swim, you have a choice to make. Change the habitat before it grows up into an adult, or sell the T-Rex. Conversely, there would also be a swimming genome that can be applied to other species that gives them the ability to swim even when they don't have it naturally. All the dinosaurs I listed before in the 4 categories are natural swimmers, but your scientists can meddle and give the swimming ability to more species. However, this is not something you can just apply to any dinosaur and give any dinosaur the ability to swim. There are still limitations in place. Again though, you uncover this through trial and error. The eggs of some species, for example, will always fail during incubation if you try to apply this gene, or the trait will simply never manifest. So imagine you spend money applying the swimming genome to incubate an egg, but the dinosaur still hatches without the trait, without the ability. The genome could only be successfully applied to all Tyrannosaurids, reusing the T-Rex swimming animation, all ceratopsians, reusing the Spinoceratops swimming animation, and all raptors, reusing the Spinoraptor swimming animation. Pyroraptor would have a unique swimming animation, the one that we've caught a glimpse of already, and Deinonychus would swim just like the Spinosaurus in a more crocodilian type of movement. I'm still not done though. I had fun cooking this up, in case you couldn't tell. There is another genome you could research, but this one would apply to lagoon animals, namely a freshwater genome. Incubating a lagoon animal with this genome makes them suitable to release in the deep water, which is of course freshwater as opposed to the saltwater lagoons. Keep in mind that the limitation of the deep water tool still applies here. There seems to be no volume to the depth of deep water, so our dinosaurs are only swimming along the surface, and the same would apply to our lagoon animals. The lagoon animal just swims along the surface, and if it dives, we can't actually follow it down. It would simply just disappear from view underneath the surface until it comes back up. And that's one motivation for players to keep making use of the lagoons, but there would also be another one. While the freshwater genome can make any lagoon animal compatible with the deep water, it does come at a cost. Only Nothosaurus and Archelon would be able to breed in their freshwater habitat. Both would come on land to lay eggs, and they would be perfectly fine. All other lagoon species would not be satisfied enough with the deep water as their habitat for them to breed. We know that a dinosaur habitat needs to meet all the requirements in Jurassic World Evolution 3 for the dinosaurs to breed. So you could say that the majority of lagoon animals are only ever like 90% satisfied with their deep water habitat, and this simply doesn't put them in the mood. I'd put in that limitation on purpose because I think the player should be encouraged to still use the lagoons, but it's a compromise you could make if you want to do that. Finally, just as deep water serves as a food source for the Spinosaurids, it would also serve as food for the pterosaurs. They'd perform an animation skimming along the surface, dragging their beak through the water, and then they'd snatch a fish out of the water and fly off. Let me know what you think of the deep water being expanded upon like this, and if you have any ideas of your own, add them in a comment. I want to stress this was just fun to think about. It is not an expectation or demand I have for the game. Anything less than this is not a failure. I think 5 swimming dinosaurs is too few, but I'm convinced we'll be seeing this feature get expanded upon. Probably not to the extent of my dream scenario, but I'm excited nonetheless. If you are excited too, subscribe to the channel. I'll keep you up to date on all the news. Thank you so much for watching, liking, subscribing, and until next time, stay tuned for more.